In Japan's mountain forests, there are shrines so old that no one remembers when they were first built. Some are tended daily, their paths swept clean. Others are left for the forest to reclaim. But there are a few that remain hidden on purpose, shrines whose gods are better left undisturbed. Tonight's story is about one of them, and the names it will never stop calling. Chapter 1. Steps Through the Cedar Grove. The mountain path was narrow, lined with ancient cedar trees whose trunks rose straight and tall into the mist. The air was cool and damp, carrying the scent of wet earth and pine resin. Moss clung thick to the stones beneath his feet, and the only sound was the distant rush of a hidden stream. After an hour's climb, the office worker saw it. An old vermilion Tory gate, its paint faded and chipped, standing guard at the edge of a clearing. Beyond it lay the shrine grounds, stone lanterns streaked with lichen, a weathered purification basin where water dripped steadily from a bamboo spout, and a honden, main hall, whose roof curved elegantly beneath a layer of fallen leaves. White shide paper streamers fluttered from the sacred rope hung across the entrance, their edges softened by years of rain and sun. A figure emerged from behind the hall, an elderly man in a navy happy coat, his hair white and neatly tied back. He greeted the visitor with a deep bow and a smile that reached his eyes. "Not many come here these days," he said. "The kami are always happy to meet new people." The worker returned the bow, feeling a strange stillness in the air, as if the forest itself had been listening. He stepped onto the wooden walkway leading to the main hall. The boards creaked beneath his weight, releasing the faint scent of aged cedar. Somewhere far above, a crow called, once, then fell silent. When he turned back, the caretaker had vanished behind the honden. Only the whisper of leaves remained, though the air was completely still. The offering box waited before him, dark and empty. He reached for a coin and thought he heard the faintest murmur in the trees, something that almost sounded like his name. Chapter 2. The First Whisper. The 5-yen coin clinked softly as it slid into the offering box. He stepped back, bowed twice, and clapped his hands together, sharp sounds that echoed oddly in the empty courtyard. His breath misted in the cool air. For a moment, there was only silence. The forest beyond the shrine stood still, every cedar trunk perfectly straight, their dark forms fading into the mist. Even the steady drip from the Temazuya purification basin seemed to pause. Then, from somewhere very close, a voice spoke his name. It was so soft he almost thought he imagined it, the syllables drawn out like a secret shared too near the ear. He turned sharply, scanning the courtyard. The caretaker was nowhere to be seen. The walkway around the honden was empty, the shadows beneath its eaves still and deep. A chill crept along his arms. He told himself it must have been the wind, though the leaves overhead did not stir. "Hello?" he called, his voice sounding too loud in the stillness. No reply. The shrine's bell rope swayed gently, though he was certain he hadn't touched it. The thick braided hemp twisted once, the wooden Suzu bell above giving the faintest rattle. Then again, his name. This time, the voice seemed to come from just beyond the altar, from inside the honden itself, low, patient, familiar, as though it had always known him. He stepped back instinctively, his heel catching on the edge of the stone step. The rope stopped swaying. The silence returned. Far away, a crow called once more, 3 short cries, then nothing. And yet, as he turned to leave, he realized something unsettling. The voice had pronounced his name perfectly. Chapter 3. The Kami Calls. He didn't sleep well that night. The sound of his name, spoken so close, yet by no one he could see, lingered in his mind. By morning, curiosity had overtaken unease, and he found himself climbing the cedar-lined path again, his steps crunching on damp moss. The torii stood just as before, its faded red arch marking the threshold. But as he passed beneath it, the air felt thicker, almost heavy, and the forest seemed quieter than yesterday. The caretaker was not in sight. Approaching the honden, he noticed small details he had missed before. The shied streamers along the rope were newly replaced, their paper crisp and white against the weathered wood. Fresh offerings sat before the altar, rice, salt, and a small cup of sake, though no visitors had passed him on the trail. He placed his coin into the box, bowed, and clapped. The reply was immediate. Not one voice, but many spoke at once from within the honden. They did not shout, they chanted, low and steady, a slow rhythm that seemed to match the pounding of his own pulse. His name was there among the sounds, repeating again and again, woven seamlessly into a string of other names he didn't recognize. The air smelled faintly of burning cedar and something metallic, like rusted iron in rainwater. Shadows shifted along the beams inside the hall, bending and curling, though nothing moved to cast them. He stepped closer, peering through the narrow gap between the wooden doors. The dim interior held only the altar, a mirror at its center reflecting the pale daylight. But in that reflection, he saw them, faces. Dozens, pale and solemn, their lips moving in perfect unison, and every few breaths, all of them turned to him. Chapter 4. The Night of Many Voices. That night the wind rattled his apartment windows, but it wasn't the wind that kept him awake. Every time his eyelids grew heavy, he would hear it again, his name, whispered in that same patient tone, slipping through the darkness between waking and sleep. When he finally drifted off, the dream came. He was back at the mountain shrine, but this time the world around it was drowned in silver moonlight. The cedar grove stood still as carved stone, and the vermilion torii glowed faintly, as if lit from within. The honden's doors were open. Beyond them, the mirror on the altar caught the moonlight and threw it back, bathing the courtyard in an otherworldly glow. Around the shrine, unseen figures moved, their feet making no sound on the stone. He could sense them more than see them, a crowd encircling him, the air thick with their presence. Then the voices began. It was the same chant as before, slow and deliberate, each syllable sliding into the next like water over smooth rock. The names rolled through the night, one after another, each word carrying a weight that made his chest tighten. When his own name came, the sound was different, sharper, closer. The crowd leaned toward him. He felt breath against his ear, icy and damp, followed by the sensation of fingers brushing the back of his neck. The air smelled of old incense and rain-soaked wood. He tried to move, but the stone beneath his feet seemed to hold him in place. Then the chanting stopped. In the silence, every figure turned toward him, their faces still hidden in shadow, except for one, standing just inside the honden. It smiled, and its lips began to form his name again. Chapter 5. The Record of the Dead. The next morning, he returned to the cedar path, not to climb it, but to leave offerings at the base of the trail. A small part of him hoped that would be enough to quiet whatever had followed him into the night. An elderly woman tending a roadside Jizo statue watched him for a long moment before speaking. "You went up there, didn't you?" Her voice was neither accusing nor surprised, just certain. When he nodded, she sighed, resting her broom against the stone pedestal. "That shrine isn't for the living," she said. "It belongs to a kami who keeps the Shime no Cho, the record of names. The villagers say it's as old as the forest itself, older than any building that stands there now. The kami calls the names of the dead, guiding their spirits to the other side." She leaned closer. "But if you hear it speak your name before your time, it means your place among them is already prepared." The words seemed to sink into the morning mist. He thought of the fresh offerings on the altar, the faces in the mirror, the countless names whispered in the dark. "Some try to bargain," she continued, "leaving gifts, making vows. Sometimes it works. Sometimes the kami just waits." Her eyes flicked up the trail where the torii faded red could just be seen through the trees. It never forgets a name. A crow called from somewhere high above, its cry sharp and lonely. When he turned to leave, he swore he heard it again. His name, carried faintly on the wind, though the cedars stood perfectly still. And for the first time, he realized the voice wasn't coming from the shrine. It was following him. Shrines are meant to connect the living to the divine, to give prayers a place to land. But not all kami are gentle, and not all callings are blessings. If you ever hear your name spoken at a shrine when no one is there, don't answer and never return. Some gods will remember your name until the day you die, no matter how far you run. In Shinto belief, kami are spirits or deities that inhabit natural features, objects, and places. While many are benevolent, some are vengeful or bound to specific roles. Shrines dedicated to these more obscure or dangerous kami are sometimes deliberately hidden or abandoned to limit interaction with them. Japanese folklore includes the idea of a spiritual record of names, where the names of the dead are kept and recited during rites. In some stories, if a living person's name is spoken by the wrong spirit, it can be seen as a summons, marking them for an early death or for service in the afterlife. Villages in remote areas sometimes pass down warnings about certain shrines. To visit only during specific festivals, to avoid going alone, and above all, to never respond if you hear your name spoken in the stillness.